So this is going to be the general manager chat. We have a really good handful of great GMs from luxury cinemas across, really good sampling of luxury cinemas across the country. Want to start by thanking JKRP Architects and Chematic Seating for sponsoring this session. Without them, obviously, we wouldn't have a summit at all. So to start with, we're going to have Alison Meyer, who's from the Palms. It's a Fridley Theater location just outside of Des Moines, Iowa. We're going to have Albert Waitt from Smittys in Maine. We saw actually both of those tours of their stores, so they can actually talk to them. We're going to have Adam Levetow from the Brookfield Square location of Marcus Theaters and Movie Tavern. And last but not least, a local hero of ours, Izzy Garcia from Star Cinema Grill in the great state of Texas, over on the Houston side.
He also plays for the Houston Rockets.
He does play.
So that's why he's got that backdrop behind him. It's just like he finished a game for the Houston Rockets.
That's a step and repeat.
Yeah, exactly. It looks awesome. I like it.
Right.
I'm going to change our view here. All right, keep going.
Okay, so just to kind of set the stage a bit for the conversation. Again, we have really good seasoned GMs across the dine-in cinema industry who have really, really good experience. I mean, they run the stores themselves, but for the audience, the audience that are actually watching, a good chunk of them are upper management, owners. We've heard from a lot of them today, executives, kind of back-end corporate. And we would like to really have this panel be focused on possibly changing their approach and how they interact with you as a GM, which they may not, and maybe learn something that they haven't learned from before. So that's kind of the focus of this session. So we really appreciate you being willing to do this and open up as much as you can, knowing that your bosses are probably listening. Okay, so
I'm going to restart the poll right now.
The poll we're gonna kick off now. I want to stress that the poll is really for, which I just said is going to be mostly for upper management executives, owners on the exhibitor side. We want to get their take on it. So we really like from them, please only answer if you're on the corporate side of the theater, and as always, no wagering. Okay, we're going to start with question for Izzy and Adam. So get ready with this one. So nobody knows the business more than you. You're the GM. You're the guy on the floor. You're the ones that the assistant manager, the staff come to, and there's an issue. Usually the one that gets escalated if there's a customer service issue. Ultimately, you're responsible for your single location. So maybe we could start with Izzy. The question is, how have you reached out to your customer directly or indirectly to gauge their interest in possibly changing their needs and wants as they return to cinema, which has been a little bit different experience. So you want to start, Izzy?
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. I guess one of the things that we do quite a bit here is that we're very guest focused and very guest oriented. From the minute they walk in, we say hi. We recognize the returning guests, and we also, with our social media, reach out to a lot of the guests. Some of the things that we've had to do, and I think a lot of the cinemas out there have done, is bring back some of the retro movies, and we made that very interactive with some of our guests on our social media platforms. And, they would say, hey, would you play this? Or would y'all play that? And, our upper management would make it a point to bring some of those movies in for some of those guests. And then, they were really excited about it. One of the things that we noticed, being reopening, was the fact that, a lot of these guests, they were anxious to come out and do something and get out of the house and just be here, and the best thing is having conversations with them and speaking with them and talking to them about how, we were going about as far as, the safety standards and what we were doing different and all that, and taking some of their advice and running with it and doing certain things and just hearing them out, and I think that's a big part of, what makes us successful is being able to hear out our guests and implementing some things that, we're not going to implement everything that everybody suggests, but for the most part, taking it into consideration and trying to make it a part of our everyday, operations. So,
Right. So we actually just, if you were in the previous session, you heard a lot of the owners and executives talk about the themed experience. So you were actually able to communicate directly with your customer base and understand what their needs, their wants, if this is targeted for the teenage crowd. Is, can we do a drive-in? Is there interest for that? So you're able to get that feedback and turn that into actually events or retro movies, etc.
yeah, I heard I was able to hear some of the last panel, and some of the interesting things was, what we're doing, or what was being done as far as, the retro movies and playing stuff outside of, just bringing in different content. And, a lot of the things is when we reach out to a lot of our guests and the events specifically, reaching out to them and seeing what they wanted on the screen. And, we were willing to put anything and everything from them. We've had gaming events here. We reached out to some of the local game stores, and they hold their little tournaments. And, it's nothing large, but, it's still revenue coming into the building. So that's always great, and having, birthday parties. And, we've had a couple who wanted an anniversary night and they wanted to go out, and, they were a little iffy about being around a lot of people. Well, little did we know, they actually rented out the entire theater just for them too. And they enjoyed it, and they paid up, and they, they did everything. They spent the amount of money they needed to spend. But that was just something, being able to do stuff like that for the guests, and just seeing the smiles on their face when they leave, and the thank yous that we're getting, for letting them watch whatever they wanted to watch. And if, whether it's streaming or DVD, or, having the studios, release a one-day movie to us, or, whatever it may be. So.
Great. So Adam, how has your customer engagement changed over the last year?
Well, I think the biggest thing is we've been able to create our Marcus movie rewards card. We started this, the members card, maybe 3 years ago. Have a couple million members with that. So we've been able to interact with our guests a little bit differently as well too. We know our regular customers. We know what they're coming to see, what they're purchasing, and able to actually email them and let them know some of the things that are actually going on in our theater specifically. Now, Marcus Theaters as a whole, we'll blast out emails to guests letting them know what the content is, but something a little bit more genuine just from me specifically, saying, hey, I'm your local theater general manager, and can't wait to see you guys when you guys come back in, and here are kind of like the new guidelines that we're going through and some of the protocols that we're doing to try to make them feel safe and able to come in. And obviously all of us are having a lot less foot traffic coming through the doors right now, and with that as well too, our actual labor model is much less than we had before. So almost every single one of these guests coming to the front door, you're able almost to greet them as soon as they come in, talk with them a little bit about the movie, let them know if they need anything they can find us, and then say bye to them when they're leaving. So in a lot of cases, even for us here, we're our newest theater location. It's only an 8-plex, but you're maybe selling the guest tickets or checking them in, and then maybe you're helping them with the bar drink and talking to them a little bit more, and then a burger. And then literally taking the burger to them, and they're like, oh, you guys do it all here. And so you're literally able to have that personal connection, I think, with guests. And what we've been finding out in the last 2 or 3 months, a lot of our guests that are coming in, they're the same guests. Just like Bama was saying, he sees the same people every single week. It's the same thing for us too. We have so many regular guests that are coming into our theaters right now, and so we know that they want to come back.
Let me ask you this as a follow-on. Let me ask you this: do you get tools from Marcus to allow you to send, like, just to people that have come to your specific location in the past 30 days or 60 days out of the loyalty group? Did they give you a tool to let you communicate directly with those people?
Yeah, we do use a tool. It's worked through with Aloha as well too, but it's NCR Customer Voice.
Perfect. So let me ask you this: were you using that tool before March of 2020?
I was, because I was already trying to do this as we opened up 2 new theaters in Milwaukee in the last 5 years, and I got the opportunity to do both of them. I was really trying to already build that kind
Cool.
of customer following.
So I think I'm glad you brought that tool up, or that mechanism up, because from my perspective, I think a lot of our customers probably weren't in that pattern. The GMs of
You're right.
specific sites, they were just keeping the doors open
Execution.
because people were just coming in, right?
Yep.
And so I would, if I was to give you a piece of advice, which I'm not licensed to do, but I would say, don't stop doing that. If that tool's easy to use, keep sending those people those messages, so that 3 years down the road, they really, really, really know who you are. And even if you never have met them along the way, and that you're just communicating electronically, those are the little things that make a huge difference, I think, to the industry and to your site. And those are things that we kind of started to preach to our customers years ago as we started to roll out some of our technology, that I think that's kind of the way of the future, right? And to now leverage the downtime to get good at it and to build those tools and to use them. And then it'll be automatic down the road.
Yeah, I think, I mean, good point too, is right before we opened up these last 2 theaters, I mean, the theater that I was at, that was one of our flagship properties, $1 million plus, a year. And the last 2 that we've owned have been more, niche, where Bistroplex was our first all-in theater dining for Marcus. And then now this movie tavern brand of no servers. But these 2 theaters, completely different than the $1 million plus. We're maybe doing, sub 400,000. So it's a different experience, and you want to be able to make sure the guests know that, they feel really, really loyal and appreciated coming into the doors.
Absolutely.
Go for it.
Okay, so let's turn to Alison and Albert. So we both of you are regulars on our weekly summit. So you've given us updates, and we understand. We've seen Smittys, we've seen Fridley, the ups and downs, closing open. So we know your site almost as good as you do, at least from the summits. But let's start with Alison, because we know you're really the driving force behind the Palms, not Russell. So and definitely the policies and procedures and new things that have implemented is because of you. So tell the audience how your role as a GM has changed over the last year.
Quite a bit. So at the Palms, we were open about 14 months before the pandemic hit, and this was Fridley's first dine-in cinema operation. So we had a lot to learn, and it's changed over the last 10 months. So I would say now I spend a lot more time working as a party planner and doing a lot of private parties, alternative content. We have a lot of school groups coming in. Parent groups renting out the theater to watch sporting events. And so that has really has picked up a lot in the last even 4 months, I would say. Probably in Iowa, since the weather got cooler, people are looking for indoor activities, and word of mouth has spread a lot. So that has changed my weekly routine quite a bit. And then also, just getting creative with a smaller staff, with trying to be efficient on, from front of house, back of house, theater, all of it. So it's kind of been fun. It's been a challenge, but I think there is still a market out there. We see a lot of regular customers each week, as Adam had said. Same thing here at our cinema as well. And it gives you a chance to kind of connect with your staff and with your customers differently than you have been able to in past years.
Do you see, after the pandemic, going back, I mean, right now it seems like Adam was saying, you're doing everything from delivering food to making the popcorn to reconnecting with all levels of employees, where normally you'd have a layer or 2 underneath you to do that. Do you see that continuing? Has that been a good experience that a policy you'd like to continue afterwards? Again, you're talking to the executives. This is...
Sure. And I think that the job always continues to evolve, and that's driven by the market. I have appreciated the time that I've had these last 8 to 10 months, but I don't know that it'll always be realistic.
Mm-hmm. Because of other responsibilities that may come back. Okay. So that's a great segue into to Albert, because Albert is in a kind of a unique position where he has 2 hats. He's both the GM of Smittys, but he's also the director of operations. So he is
or he wouldn't let us talk to his GM.
Exactly. He's what we call an embedded director, or a guy. So maybe you could give us your experience, Albert.
Sure. I am not a GM, and my GMs are pretty glad of that. They don't have to see me every day. But I do talk with them frequently. My role really hasn't changed much, but the direction of my work has. Generally, I try to provide leadership for our managers. I came in almost 6 years ago to Smittys, and we had a lot of great people working there. Some were well educated, some had come up through the ranks, but there were gaps in knowledge that they really could have benefited from filling. So we started doing seminars on things like employee retention and professional communication and time management. So I took on a more educational role, and we get all the managers in one spot. You know, we'd have these little get-togethers. We'd have a presentation. We do all sorts of stuff, and bring up their specific knowledge that they were lacking. Like they all had great common sense. They worked well with people, but there were these little gaps that we tried to fill so that they would be better managers. And then we started doing it with all our managers. So when the pandemic hit, most of this training went to COVID prevention. We had the state of Maine did a really great thing. They partnered with their community colleges and provided training modules for hospitality managers. So we signed up, we had all our managers take those. And ServSafe had when we had them take those. And then we put up all their certificates in our theaters so our customers could see how seriously we took it. So really my role is just trying to help these guys be the best they can. And they're pretty good to start with, but it's filling these little gaps in knowledge that have really empowered them to keep their staffs calm during a highly stressful time, because they can see that their leaders are in control and they're not panicked. So our managers have done a really great job.
Perfect. So I want to ask a question to Izzy and Adam. It's a good segue from Albert, I think. You know, I know, you know, Izzy, you're in Houston, surrounded by whatever 9 Star Cinema Grill locations, and you have a lot of GMs around you, and you got all your corporate staff, your corporate guys, Walsh and Ostro and such, they're around you. But you know, but the question really is, what have you done to make yourself a better GM, right? That's the simple way of asking it. Over the last 10 months, what tricks have you learned? What have you gone out of your comfort zone? What have you reached out and done to make you a better GM? And I would say that if Albert was the GM of Smittys, that if he took the initiative to go get the state of Maine online training course lined up for his staff, right? And if you did that for Star Cinema Grill, you know, you're learning tricks out there. That's a trick, right? I'm assuming that's free, Albert. Was it free?
Oh yeah, it was free.
Yeah. So that's a free trick, right? That you've learned, that Albert learned, that you could bring in to Star Cinema Grill, that makes you a better GM. You're showing leadership, you're helping your staff, and you hope that that's just contagious throughout the company, you know, but this is more from your personal perspective. What do you feel like you've done to make yourself a better GM, or since in the last year?
It's a good question, man. You're sitting here thinking about that and just thinking about everything that we've gone through and everything that we've had to do to do the reopening process, you know, and when the time came and the call came and said, hey, you know, we're going to reopen, you're going to be one of the first stores in the city to open up to the guests and to your employees, and, you know, sit down and let's plan this out and let's work it out. And it was one of the first times that I've had to do something like that and sit there and sit in the lobby with Walsh and Ostro and Petro and all the corporate guys to come up with a plan of how we're going to do this safely and how we're, you know, what's going to change and how are we going to, you know, operate differently. What are we going to do to ensure safety for the staff members, ensure safety for the guests, and, you know, how are we going to let our guests know that we're taking these steps, you know, and we were able to do some of that stuff by, putting it on the TVs in the walkway, the poster screen TVs, and put up our standards and do all that. And I guess in some ways it's kind of helped a lot because it made me more aware of things that we were never really aware of before, and the little details that, we took for granted at one point, and now we're having to really watch things and really watch how people, employees are washing their hands, and how they're cleaning and wiping, and are they using the sanitizer properly? These are some of the things that a lot of us probably took for granted at one point or another. Oh, just spray it down and wipe it. Well, just spraying and wiping isn't the proper way to use that sanitation. When you read it properly, you got to let it sit for a couple of minutes before you wipe it for it to actually work the way it's supposed to work. Just the awareness of everything. It's really opened my eyes up to a lot of different things, and just financially, and just.
What about,
Yeah,
let me
just
ask you, does because I talk to Jason Ostro periodically, are you able to go out and be a part of going and getting new business, right? Do you personally, like, are you being encouraged to be creative with how you're going to fill those rooms, whether it's, hey, I just hooked up a Mom's Day Out event on a Tuesday morning, they're, kids under 4, they're going to come in and we're going to make breakfast for them or something like that. Are you being creative? Are you allowed to be creative on your side for your facility specifically?
Oh, most definitely.
So that's a trick.
There's no holding back on that at all. Yeah, there's no holding back on that at all. We're reaching out, we're pulling old contracts from old events and reaching out and say, hey guys, if you still want to event booking, we can do this for you. You want to do a meeting, we'll do a meeting, early day meeting. What things do you need for it to be successful? Do we need to cook something different for you? We'll do that. Just doing whatever it takes to be able to get the guests into the building, and I think we have the full support of the corporate team whenever we do that. We communicate with them, we let them know what we're doing for the guests, and we're doing everything in the best interest of the company, and making sure that, we're reaching out to these companies and the schools and the daycares, and, booking, school trips, and reassuring them that the safety protocols that we're taking.
Yeah. So those are when I said my question, those are the little tricks, right? Like how to go through, how do you do that? And how do you do it in such a way that it scales, right? Meaning 6 months down the road, you want to still be doing it, right? Because times are changing. You're going to always want to be doing that because content's going to be different, and theater windows are going to be different. So you're going to have an opportunity to build on that, as opposed to looking at it as a temporary thing, right? It's like, we're not just going to do this temporarily. This is going to be something we want to build on. And as Venue Valet, those are the kinds of things we want to work with you on more. Like, what tools can we give you or help you find or help you build so that we can help you do those things, those reach out things to other businesses or other companies to make it easier on you, because we don't think that's going away.
Right.
So Adam, to you, let's go ahead.
I think one of the things that we just recently implemented is triple seat. We're using triple seat, and I think it's a very good program to be able to keep track of all the events and be able to reach out to them, and you can send them thank you letters, and hey, we look forward to seeing you again type letters. So it's been a very helpful tool for us.
Yeah, another great trick. Right. So Adam, to you.
Yeah, I think a big thing that we had already spoken on as well too is staffing levels are obviously a challenge right now, and even being more collaborative to. We're based out of Milwaukee, so we have about 10 theaters in the Milwaukee market. I know, I'm not ready to talk about it.
Neither.
But being able to do that and talk with the other GMs as well too, and being able to say, hey, what are we doing from a staffing perspective to make sure the auditoriums are getting turned in enough time, guests are coming in, and being able to order food and have time to, but it's a safe and social distance atmosphere as well. But being able to share strategies of, okay, we only have 8 people on during this shift. What is everyone going to be doing, that entire time?
Yeah.
I speak about that right now. It's a $5 Tuesday for us. We have 6 associates probably here right now, and that's how we run our Tuesday nights right now. And it's just trying to figure out, okay, if you're going to be the box office attendant, you're also going to be the bartender, but you're trying to be that best associate
Right.
for your associates as well too, to show great customer service and get repeat customers to be able to come back in.
So a year ago, were you meeting with those GMs of other sites on a regular basis?
Oh, I mean, we have our text message groups or our email groups. These are people that I've worked with for a number of years as well too. I've been fortunate enough to be in the Milwaukee market the entire time, and gotten to be able to go around to like our movie tavern sites when we acquired them a few years back.
Right.
And so you build these relationships with other GMs to be able to share knowledge and share great ideas to be able to make our lives easier. We all know that this is a challenging job, and I've always said the dine-in concepts are some of the most challenging cinemas to be able to run. From all the complexities of having 300, 400 people a la carte order during a 2-hour period and be able to execute that at a really high level. But I think even more importantly, you talk about the last 10 months, and it's being able to understand like the staff that I have here right now, and the staff that have been with us for the last 3 months since reopening. It's having empathy as well too. It's learning about empathy and being able to take care of those people. For a lot of my staff that are here, my kitchen manager, I've been with her for 10 years, with Marcus. And so it's my assistant managers, my hourly managers. I've been with them for 4 or 5 years. I hired them 5 years ago at a different theater. And so these people have not only played a great impact in Marcus's story for the last 5 years at some of our bigger theaters, but also in my own life too. So while we are struggling from time to time to make sure guests are coming in the door, I know that they have my back to be able to take care of the guests that are coming in, and that they know that I have their back as well too. Because at the end of the day, we're all in this together, and we're just trying to provide, a great experience for our guests that are coming through the door.
Go for it.
Right. So kind of the common theme that we've heard is really empowering the GM to continue to do your job, but enable you to make those key decisions, and giving you the opportunity, I think, is what Izzy was saying, is that actually being able to empower himself and just saying, Jason, this is what I'm going to do, or John, this is what I'm going to do. And they're like, hey, it's your store, go for it. If it works, it does. And if it doesn't, you're accountable. So you've obviously shown, all of you have shown that you've engaged directly with the customer. We're going to switch gears just a little bit, really kind of directed to Alison and Albert again, but we can open it up obviously to Izzy and Adam, is switch gears to the vendor side. So companies like us, Venue Valet, we've implemented a lot of the features that we've implemented over the years are a direct result of feedback from GMs. We continuously improve our product. There's vendors on this call that are looking for that direct feedback, that you can talk to them and say, hey, this is some feedback on recliners. This is how feedback on automation systems, theater projectors, etc. You've interacted routinely with vendors across the spectrum of all the different products. So I guess the direct question, let's start with Alison, is how would more direct interaction or involvement with vendors, back of house vendors, help you regarding recommendations on theater upgrades, maintenance, new features, products? How would that help you create a more profitable experience, which is again what the executives and owners are going to be looking for, as well as a satisfying opportunity for the customer?
Sure. Yeah. Just, an opportunity to open up that dialogue is very helpful with that. Some of the best ideas have come from staff members, from customers conversation, and having a channel to funnel that through to vendors, or, whoever can help turn that idea into an actual concept is great. I know. So for myself, I'm not able to attend some of the large national conventions always, but some of the more regional ones, it's a really good opportunity when we see vendors. I attend North Central NATO every year. That's a great way to get some face time with the vendors that attend. And so really just kind of some of those smaller areas that we can open up that dialogue is helpful.
Cool. That's good. Albert, any feedback on how direct involvement with vendors and suppliers helps create a better experience, more profitable opportunity?
Sure. We use Toast POS, which is a cloud-based system, And I think we were their first client that had a large number of seats. So we required them to do some different things than they normally would and to make some adjustments. And they were out of the box. They were really helpful in changing things for us on their back end. We've had really good vendor relationships in several areas. But what we found since the pandemic, since our business slowed and other businesses have slowed, these other companies have laid off people too and furloughed. So we use Thanks for our loyalty program. And at one point we had a rep who was fantastic. We had weekly meetings with her and she was great, but she's no longer there. And sometimes when one of our guys calls in or a marketing person wants to get some information, the people that are left don't really provide the answers that we were accustomed to when they were running full bore. So that's made it kind of tough. But on the other hand, Brunswick has started doing quarterly calls with us, and our liaison with Brunswick, they just rolled out this open lane app that's going to give us more marketing and customer engagement. And she took us through the whole thing in 30 minutes, and we already have it up and running. So, I think you're only as good as your vendors and that kind of thing. If you're in communication with them and they have good people, you can do great things. But
So just real quick, Adam, Izzy, any input as to how vendors on this call could better engage with you to make, instead of having to go through corporate?
Yeah. Well, one thing I do want to say is I do want to give a shout out to y'all, man. Y'all had a big part in playing with us reopening. I see the smiles. In reopening and helping us with our the apps and the app ordering and being able to reduce the contact in the theaters by implementing the app ordering. So I want to thank y'all for that. But yeah, I think open communication with some of the vendors, it would be a big plus, or is a big plus, and just keeping that communication open with them, and having them come in and say, hey, what can we do to make things better for y'all? It's been great, and I think the times that we're in right now has really changed a lot of that, and has really made people look at things differently and the business side of stuff and say, hey, what can we do to make things better for everybody? So, but again, thank y'all to y'all for all the help on the app implementation there.
I'm sure Alison's got something to say. Nope.
I think our local reps, our national reps, that just checking in every once in a while and creating an opportunity to share some ideas and stuff is great. I know the people that check in more often are the ones that I'm able to have great relationships with and brainstorm and build better ideas. So
Out of sight, out of mind, right? So
yeah.
Yeah.
So to Albert's point, a minute ago, even when you have vendors that their behavior changes, it's sometimes, it comes down to relationships. A lot in this business, we learned that really early on with our company. And we really, this year, of course, have grown to appreciate that more than ever. But even before that, we were, one thing that we were able that we were proud of was that we became, as a vendor, we felt like we were friends with many of our customers, right? And there's good and bad with that at times, right? It can wear you out on both sides, right? It's like I don't need Matt calling me and telling me, how great this world is if I'm Alison, and she doesn't need that she wants me to just do my job, right? But at the same time, when she needs something from us, she knows she can get it, and vice versa. When I need Alison to be on a panel, she answers yes, right? And gives us a good reference to other customers, or lets a customer come in and tour her site. that's just in one state over and says, sure, I'll give you a tour, right? A lot of it comes down to those relationships. And when that relationship changes because of COVID, to Albert's point, it's not always because the vendor doesn't care. It's because that one employee that was your liaison, like their career had to change, right? They got laid off, or they decided this is not good for my family, and they had to go find something else to do. And I would think the same, if I can't find you one day at at Fridley, Allison, I will be, a little bit disturbed by that. But nothing today surprises me about any of my customers, whether it's good or bad news. It is what it is, and we're hoping for the best. So that's great. Great answers there. The last question we put the poll out there, and about how often does upper management interact with their GMs, right? And most of the time, it was frequently was the answer. All the time was the next best answer or next popular answer, and then occasionally, but only at a few locations. Nobody answered never. Of course, at that point we only had 15 answers, or 15 upper management people on that were willing to answer the question. But I want to give you all a chance real quick to answer our last question. And that is, if you were corporate upper man, except for you, Albert, you go last. If you were corporate upper management at your company, what would you do differently to empower or impact the job of being a GM? And Alison, let's start with you. I think a couple of you guys didn't say, like, I don't know if I have a good answer for this question. So you can always just say, skip me. But I know Alison and Albert said they would gladly chime in. I don't remember the answer from the other two guys. Go ahead.
Well, I guess I feel fortunate in having a close relationship with our upper management here. That's due to proximity, geographical location here with the Fridley home office in Des Moines as well. Poor Russell hears from me sometimes on a daily basis when things come up. So I feel like I have, a lot of support there, and we do a lot of that brainstorming together, frequent feedback is awesome, especially in a time that there's so much uncertainty. Everything changes week to week with the industry, and people approach me about using our auditoriums for a venue that we've never thought about before. And so really just having that frequent communication is helpful and support, thinking through different logistics on things. It's very important.
Good answer. Albert?
One thing I would like to see from our general managers that I think our panel of general managers would appreciate, maybe not right now during COVID, but there's so much detail involved with running one of these dine-in theaters. There's so much that can go wrong, and there's so much going on at every second. But I'd like my general managers to be able to step back and look at more big picture issues. Whether it's, putting their foot in the marketing pond, or, hey, this is a different way we could serve this food, or, hey, I have a menu idea that we could pair up with this movie. We have a marketing department. We have me doing a lot of the menu connection stuff with the movies, but I really encourage our GMs to be more active and take the bull by the horns and generate ideas. So I think the more of us that are thinking about things and the more ideas that we come up with, the better chance one of them is going to be good. And a lot of times they get caught up in the small details that makes them a great manager. So I'd like to have them have the opportunity as well to just step back and be able to take on some big picture issues. And one of the first things I tell every manager is, you're going to make mistakes, and as long as we learn from them, it's okay, because we all make them.
Izzy and Adam, do you have anything you want to add in terms of communication, or if you were upper management, and you don't have to, we're out of time anyway, but if you want to add something, please take the time.
I was just going to chime in. I mean, similar to what Alison and Albert were just saying as well too. And I'm fortunate that I'm, right down next to our corporate office as well. And I've, been with the company for 10 years. So I've been able to have those relationships and being able to communicate with the general managers that are in Iowa with us, or in Texas or Colorado or Pennsylvania, and letting them know, yeah, just ask this person because they're, they're very open-minded and they're going to, listen to what ideas are coming in, as Albert had mentioned. But I think it's, the two-sided coin there that they can't be afraid to be able to reach out and ask as well too. And I use it from, my own experience. When we opened up Bistroplex, the all dine-in theater concept, that was our first one with Marcus anyway. Rob, who was just on the last panel as well too, himself and executives from a couple different departments. I mean, every single week for the first 12 months of that thing being open, we met with about 8 to 10 people, and it was what's working this week, what's not working this week, and what can we do to change. And we played around with that concept a lot. He talked about the 30-minute ordering period. Yeah, we ended service 30 minutes after the movie started because of that, and how we had to change the labor model. And I think obviously not everybody can take, an hour and a half every single week to be able to meet with and speak with every single one of their general managers, but it's trying to create that kind of relationship where people are able to freely speak up on those ideas like Albert talked about. Because I'm sure there's some people that are gun shy out there, and maybe don't want to speak their mind right away, but just being able to start the conversation, and letting your general managers know that the conversation is wanted and needed. Because our industry right now, we need great ideas. We need great ideas to be able to have people coming through the doors. And you don't want to shoot down all of them, but there's going to be a lot of winners in there.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Izzy, you don't even have to answer. We're out of time.
Okay.
Thank you guys for doing this. Much appreciated. Thanks to JKRP Architects and to Comatic for being our sponsors of this session.